All right, there's more to discuss here. We're now being joined by Dr. Avner Cohen from Monterey, California. Dr. Cohen is a professor of non-proliferation and terrorism studies, Middlebury Institute. Dr. Cohen, thank you so much for joining us here on the broadcast. Mediators say that the success of the deal would depend on Israel and Hamas acting in good faith. How stable or volatile do you feel this deal will remain now?
I think the first stage is reasonably stable. Israel needs it. Hamas needs as long as possible the ceasefire. I think the second one is quite questionable, whether it will come to that. The reason is that Israel would not tolerate, and no government in Israel can accept keeping the Hamas government in Gaza, or some kind of Hamas governance in Gaza. And the question is, what kind of mechanism and to what extent, what kind of distance it will be taken from Hamas that Israel would be ready to leave Gaza in a permanent way, to end the war in the full sense of the word.
Right. Now, Dr. Cohen, just to expand on that, of course, the number of Palestinian prisoners to be released in the second and the third phases would also depend on this first phase and to be finalized during these initial 42 days. Does that make these next 6 weeks the most crucial then?
Yeah, as you know, the negotiation over the next phase is going to start after 16 days, essentially a little bit more than 2 weeks. And it's going to be a tough one. I think for the Hamas, it's very important to show that even though they were devastating militarily, and the Gaza itself, the whole strip, is essentially in wreckage, they were able still to resist what they call the sumud in Arabic, the resistance, and to remain the dominant power. For Israel, it's unacceptable to allow that. So it's going to be a tough negotiation on that.
Dr. Cohen, the ceasefire deal, the announcement came just hours before that farewell speech, and of course the Israeli Prime Minister's office has also cautioned that some issues in that framework remain unresolved. They're hopeful it will get resolved soon. Do you reckon that there was some rush to get into the ceasefire deal? Have they rushed into it without resolving all issues? Or do you feel that resolving all issues isn't possible? They had to get to some stage first.
It was very clear that the deal had to start just before President Trump take office. There is no question that there was a direct connection between the inauguration of the new president and the beginning of the deal. The deal had to start before that. Both sides wanted it, the Biden administration, the new incoming administrations, and Netanyahu was pressed very, very much. Normally, I don't think that it would be enough. There was enough to have the deal. Yes, so it was rushed, and Netanyahu had to comply.
It was rushed and he had to comply. Of course, some issues remain unresolved, but sides are hopeful. And of course, both sides are rejoicing. We see Palestinians around the world rejoicing, and of course, everyone in Tel Aviv around Israel also happy with the announcement. Thank you so much for joining us. There will be a lot to discuss in especially in these next 6 weeks and during the first phase of this ceasefire, because that will determine what comes next in phase 2 and phase 3. That was Dr. Avner Cohen joining us on World DNA.
Thank you.